When I say Mahou Shoujo, or magical girl in English, what comes to mind? No doubt classic anime like Sailor Moon, long-running series like Pretty Cure, or an innovator like Madoka Magica. Well, even though the genre originated in and is dominated by Japan, its influence has spawned imitators all over the world. Some, well-known and well-loved like Winx Club. Others, high-profile misfires like High Guardian Spice. But there are way more than that. In fact, I've found 5 obscure magical girl franchises from the US and Europe. First up is Rescue Sirens. Like several entries on this list, Rescue Sirens is a book. The concept is a bit different. Our heroes are a group of mermaids living out of an Art Deco hotel in Miami and working as undercover lifeguards. So this is like Sailor Moon Baywatch. The series comes to us from writer Jessica Sanders and Chris Sanders, who's an art and animation director with quite a few credits, including Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, How to Train Your Dragon, The Croods, and Lilo and Stitch. I imagine that last one provided more than a bit of inspiration for Rescue Sirens, as the beach life vibe is a clear influence on the book. But Chris isn't the only Disney-adjacent creator to contribute to Rescue Sirens. Several of the guest artists that contributed to the first book, Rescue Sirens: The Search for the Atavist, and the follow-up, The Great Fish Roundup, either worked for Disney or have that Disney house style. A frequent criticism I saw in reviews was that the book tries too hard to be educational, having a lot to do with water safety and facts about ocean life, making the whole thing feel like one of those painful PSAs at the end of Transformers or G.I. Joe. Well, I guess in this case, it's like a Sailor Moon Says. Anyway, the reason for its obscurity is pretty obvious. 1, it's a book. And even the best books get thousands of readers, but the worst movies get millions of viewers. There's also not a lot of content. Search for the Atavist came out in 2016. Great Fish Roundup came years later. And as far as I can tell, that's really more a kid's book about fish rather than a story. But the books are easy to find at least. Both paperback and ebooks for Search for the Atavist are available on Amazon. And there's a water-resistant version of Great Fish Roundup there too. Our next obscure magical girl franchise is Sleepless Domain. Sleepless Domain is an American webcomic by writer-artist Mary Cagley that comes off like a combination of Madoka Magica, Pacific Rim, and Watchmen. But that makes it sound edgier than it actually is. Oh, make no mistake, plucky heroines will get very, very dead in this walled-off city subjected to nightly monster attacks. But at least they'll be famous while they're alive. The main character is named Undine. She's the Sailor Mercury of Team Alchemic. Art-wise, the comic bears a resemblance to thin-line animation style, but without the case of bean mouth that characterizes the worst aspects of CalArts. The characters are lovingly detailed and easy to tell apart, and the world, while not mind-blowing, looks pretty good. Oh, and there are even some neat monster designs. The central gimmick of the world treating its magical superheroines like celebrities and the deadly consequences of monster fighting makes Sleepless Domain an interesting thought experiment into what a world with teen superheroines might actually look like. Content-wise, there's plenty of material to enjoy. The comic has nearly 20 volumes, and it's ongoing. You can also get the first 4 chapters in 1 volume from HiveMill. Though I would definitely read it for free first. You know, try before you buy. For our next obscure magical girl series, we're headed across the Atlantic to Spain. And I hope you can read the native language, because that's the only way you'll be able to experience Mystical. Mystical is a 4-book series from author Marta Alvarez and illustrator Leah Lopez. Now, I had a hard enough time with English, and learning Spanish is still on my to-do list, so I can't tell you how good or bad Marta's writing is. But what I can say is that Leah's illustrations practically sell the books on their own. However, these are still books and not comics, but I can confirm there are more illustrations than just the covers. Story-wise, from the descriptions I've read, the story follows 5 high school kids who are given fantastical powers and a mandate to protect good old Earth from bad guys du jour, the Aberrations. There are additional elements that make the unique, such as being the latest in a line of magical guardians and a magical world parallel to the normal one. Unfortunately, the books are only available in Spanish. However, there's a companion art book called Mystic Arts. It's in Spanish too, but at least it has a lot of pictures. Speaking of, if you like Leah's art, consider looking into her other books, Strawberry Moon and Royal Witches. Alright, now it's time to hop from Spain to Italy to look over our next obscure magical girl series. And get excited, Percy Jackson fan, this one's Greek flavored. The setup for Girls of Olympus is fairly simple. 3 high school girls inherit the powers of Athena, Aphrodite, and Artemis. Now, rather than follow in the footsteps of tradition and start wars, turn people into monsters, and commit straight-up murder for really flimsy reasons, our 3 junior goddesses decide to save the world from Ares, Eris, and their merry band of mythological monstrosities. The series consists of 6 books by writer Elena Kendros, and said books are pretty hard to find. I had no luck on eBay or Amazon, and I only know as much as I do thanks to a site called Goodreads and Google Translate. However, you have a much better way to enjoy Girls of Olympus. Turns out it has an Honest to Olympian Gods animated series. The trailers have been around since 2012, and the full series only saw the light of day last year on a region-locked, Italy-only streaming service. Fortunately, I have a VPN, so buongiorno. How do you do, fellow Italians? It's-a me, Stupid Private. However, if you're not armed with a reliable virtual private network, you'll still likely have a chance to see the 26-episode series. As a British streaming service and the BBC iPlayer app have the broadcast rights, outside the land of pasta, pizza, poorly constructed towers, and legitimate businessmen. The hope is we'll see an English-dubbed version of Girls of Olympus this summer. Our final obscure Western magical girl series actually comes from a nation that spans across Asia. That's right, from the land of vodka, AKs, suicidal novelists, legitimate businessmen, and furry hats, come Russian magical girls. Sadly, the Fantasy Patrol, as they're called, are not given their powers by Baba Yaga and sent to Siberia to find a magical artifact to fight Rasputin with some help from Voitrap the Warbear. The art style of Fantasy Patrol is somewhat deceptive. It may look like a show for little kids, but it is a more traditional magical girl show. And interestingly, they use a surprising amount of Slavic folklore elements. So, toss a coin to your magical girl, I guess. The series consists of a 3-season animated show, with an English dub available right here on YouTube. There's also a movie set in the same universe, where the Junior Lodge of Sorceresses play a supporting role to Kolsche the Deathless, of all things. Said movie has a very different art style. The girls look more like the teens they're supposed to be instead of 9-year-olds. The show, at least, is worth checking out here on YouTube for the novelty. I hope you've enjoyed this transatlantic look at some of the more obscure entries in the magical girl genre. Now, if you're in the mood for a magical girl video game, check out Sorcerous, a dark fantasy mystery RPG available right now on Steam. Follow the link in the description to watch the trailer. And if you're interested in more reviews of anime, comics, movies, or video games, check out Stupid Private right here on YouTube.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.